Can you do more with your fiber? Well, I bet you can. You can sense with it. And who would have thought? Well, Kent and Dave have thought about that a lot. They're with the Fiber Optic Sensing Association. And you guys just gave a very compelling presentation on things that can be done with fiber that I bet a lot of people haven't thought of. So Kent, why don't we start first with what this means when you talk about fiber optic sensing?
Yeah, so the fiber optic sensing, most member companies, we make interrogators. Some are based on temperature, some are based on acoustic, some are based on strain, but what we presented today was simple acoustic energy detecting cable monitoring. So it's basically a relay backscatter with an interrogator shooting optical light down a standard communication cable, which makes, if you take a 40-kilometer cable, it's like having 40,000 microphones along that cable.
That's amazing. And some of the applications, Dave, why don't you talk to some of those applications?
Well, for the operators that are here at the show, I think it's a great application to actually use that optical cable as a sensor so you can understand what kind of threats are emerging, whether somebody is backing up with a backhoe or a shovel, digging around your cable, so that you can get there and prevent the damage to the cable before it happens, as opposed to having to remedy it after it happens. And then on the revenue side, you can gather a lot of data from the cables. If you're going down a cable next to a roadway, you can sense the traffic patterns and whether traffic is speeding up, slowing down, the volume of traffic. Or if you're overhead and you want to understand what's happening, wind, the weight of snow and ice on the cables, and when you're reaching a point where the network infrastructure might be at risk, you can be proactive with your network. So it really, from an operator's perspective, allows you to understand what's going on with the physical infrastructure, the physical optical cables in your network, and make sure that you can protect those cables before a dangerous event happens.
What's really cool about it is it's a passive network out there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, there's no power required along the way because you're just using one strand of fiber out of that communications cable that's, got, thousands of fibers potentially inside. And that one fiber then can be monitored and tell you about the health of the entire cable along that path with no repeaters, no physical implementation of anything else except that cable being in place.
Now, one of the things, a lot of these networks that are out here, are PON networks and so forth. Would it work through splitters that are out there, or would you have to, just be a dark fiber, I guess, is what you said?
Technically, you need minimum back reflection. So if you're going through a bunch of connectors, you can do that. The systems can take loss, but it should be a clean fiber through. You can go through patch panels, just have to be minimized back reflection.
So you probably really wouldn't want to go through splitters unless...
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That makes sense, but there's plenty of rural fiber out there. And so some of the opportunities that you see in those rural areas, what are they?
Well, as smart cities become more and more the norm and trying to get more intelligent about the infrastructure that manages all the cities around us, the more rural cities could feel left behind, but if they're using that fiber that's already in place to manage their main arteries coming in and out of town, or the main traffic patterns, the main communications, the rail routes, those kind of things, you can protect that infrastructure that probably isn't as necessarily as robust as what the larger cities have. You can monitor that and understand what's going on and be proactive again with your infrastructure. And that's the whole point of sensors, whether it's a thermostat in your office or this 40-kilometer cable that's running along a roadway or along a rail line. That can be a sensor that lets you understand the environment and understand when it changes, and then you can react to those changes appropriately.
One of the changes to the environment you mentioned was pre-detection of a landslide.
Right. So near and dear to my heart, living in North Carolina, but traveling here to Nashville, I go by the point where rock slides happen all the time as we're coming through the mountains, and it has taken out the interstate over and over again, and it's a year to remedy that. You're closing down the interstate for a year. There's a huge cost, a huge societal impact with people not traveling back and forth the way they could. So yeah, being able to detect landslides or earthquakes and those kind of things, that cable in the ground can tell you a lot of information if you have the right systems connected to it to allow you to do that.
Yeah, and the sensitivity is amazing. I think, Kent, you mentioned that you could detect foot traffic up to 50 feet away.
Yeah, it depends on soil conditions and then the environment, but yes, very sensitive, and you can tune these systems, and you can do the opposite tune if you got nuisance alarms and things like that. You can tune that out. So
And I suppose it uses a lot of artificial intelligence to figure out those signatures?
Correct. And many of the member companies are working on artificial intelligence, machine learning right now.
Now, you guys are part of an association, so why don't you talk a little bit about the association? I don't know who wants to go first on that.
So Fiber Optic Sensing Association was formed to kind of give the industry a voice, both in government realm, but actually the broader industry as well, and to easily communicate as an industry what, the value that optical sensing has and the place that it has. And the application chart just keeps growing as people are being more and more creative with the technology, and the Fiber Optic Sensing Association hopes to communicate that out and let people know that these things are options for them in that space.
Yeah, and I would add that if you think about the Fiber Broadband Association, it's the same reason we all have fiber in our home right now, because that was a big obstacle they had to get over years ago. So FOSA is part of the fiber optic sensing, fiber broadband, and what we're trying to do is get the same success they had with getting fiber to the home, is trying to get sensing deployed in many applications.
And there's a lot of commonality between a lot of different industries that are critical infrastructure.
So we talked about the 16 critical infrastructure spaces that the government has designated as critical to the survivability of the government and the United States, and it is giving those special protections, and fiber optic sensing is a big part of that, whether it's a water reservoir, understanding what's going on with the health of electrical substations and critical nuclear power plants, those kind of things, all the way to critical manufacturing that we need to have, and the ability to secure that manufacturing and make sure that it's not tampered with or negatively affected by any kind of adversary.
And one of the things, it sounds like one of your early wins has been the dig once policy at the federal level.
Correct. We pushed hard and got it through the House and Senate, and it's been a bill now.
That's excellent. We need some more of that at the local level. One of the things that excites me, and you touched upon this, is the preemptive stuff, but things like earthquake detection. Do you think that could actually be possible to help to pre-detect earthquakes?
Yeah, we have customers doing it right now. Our members have some of their customers doing it right now, monitoring earthquakes and looking for any type of geological or disturbance or anything like that.
So go ahead.
And we do have members that are actual, academic institutions like Berkeley, and they are doing a lot of research into both that type of ground fault monitoring as well as a wealth of applications, and they've done studies and use cases for all of that. So yeah, there's it's unlimited what you could do with this type of sensing.
And from an operator's perspective, they're pretty busy trying to get fiber to the home and trying to get customers turned up and stuff. So I'm curious if some of this stuff, if there's fault detection as a service yet, or something like that, sensing as a service where someone comes in and uses your dark fiber and then pays the operator.
I think you'll be seeing more and more of that in the future from our member companies. Yeah,
that makes sense. And how many members are part of the FOSA?
I think we're at about 22 right now, and across a wide range of companies, everybody from companies like Ditch Witch that dig ditches and actually allow you to place the cable, all the way to the electronics on it and everything in between, the conduits, the cable manufacturers. A lot of involvement from a lot of different players, and a lot of people I think are getting a lot of value out of the optical sensing potential that they're seeing in the industry.
Well, it sounds like the Fiber Broadband Association 20 years ago, so it's a lot of huge potential.
As big, so.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys,
Thank you.
and good luck.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.